Hey guys, this is a quick little intro. We have some ceremoniously business to take care of before we get to the episode. We are like $53 away from 500 on Patreon.
That's such math.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what it looks like, and it's such a nice round number that I would love to get to.
A goal there at 500?
Is there, guys?
There could be. We could come up with one.
Yeah.
Quick brainstorming session.
Yeah, but I think it's totally doable, so let's make that happen.
Yeah, go team, and thank you so much, everybody, for all of your pledges so far. They mean so much to us. We have a thank you for this week. Q Alanis. Thank you. Ashley Richter.
Woo!
Thank you. Ashley hasn't seen Xena yet, but we hope she's going to, and we know she's going to love it.
You better watch it, Ashley. Watch it now.
We have more thank yous in the coming weeks, so if you haven't heard your name and you're a patron, stay tuned.
Yeah, and also we're gonna throw a poll on Patreon. It's a patron only poll.
Our first patron funded minisode that's going to be decided by patrons. So we're going to put a poll up with some ideas, and y'all are going to pick what you want to hear.
And it's really cool because it's open to every level of pledge. So if you've pledged just $1 a month, you too can get in on the democratic process and help us decide what we're going to record next.
Yeah, get in on that. One more thing, our schedule.
Ah, yes.
Ooh, schedule.
Next week is Labor Day in the United States, which is a holiday, and everyone goes to party. We are going to be in Dragon Con.
In Atlanta.
So if you're going around Dragon Con and you spot 3 brunettes with glasses that look like the nerd emoji, and they're wearing Xena Warrior Podcast shirts.
Accurate.
And they're shouting, Xena did it first at the top of our lungs. We've been practicing doing our vocal scales so that we can just be loud and proud at the con.
That would be us, so maybe you can say hi.
Yeah, please, come up and say hi. We'd love to meet you.
If you're not afraid of the screaming of Xena did it first, that is.
We're going to be putting our schedule of episodes up on Facebook and Tumblr, so that anybody who's been listening along, sometimes we have like one episode, sometimes we do 2. I think we're going to be doing mostly
singles through the end of season 3,
except for an Autolycus double feature.
Vanishing Act and Tsunamis.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll put that up so that if you are watching along with our episodes, then you can reference that.
All right, guys, enough of this. Enjoy the episode, if you can remember what you're watching. Hello, and welcome to Xena Warrior Podcast. My name is Vera, and I'm joined, as always, by my 2 forgetful co-hosts, Katie.
Hello.
And Livy.
Hi.
Today, we're talking about 317 Forget Me Not. But before we get to the episode, a couple things need to be discussed. One is that we're drinking a new whiskey that's been suggested to us. So many people give us really great suggestions, and we're going to work down the list.
Yeah, we're going to get all of them.
Yeah, it's going to be hard work.
Yeah. Today, it's Stranahan's. Thank you.
Colorado whiskey.
It tastes really good.
It's so sweet and amazing. We love it. The other thing is that Xena was in the news this week.
Oh my god, you guys, when is Xena ever in the news? This is amazing. I'm just amazed to have Google alerts being like, Jezebel talked about Xena today. And I was like, what? What world is this? But of course we live in a world where Xena is only mentioned in the news when people are like, it's not happening. No one in Hollywood is talking about Xena. That's the news.
Oh no.
Yeah, the reboot has been killed now.
I think it was probably killed months ago.
Yeah.
But people are finally talking about the fact that it has been killed.
Okay.
And then they had been, in development for 3 years?
Yeah, a long time since Javi was first attached to her.
2015?
And there was a time even before then.
Yeah.
So
This iteration of it.
they tried to make it work and I guess decided they couldn't. It's a little bit mysterious. It seemed like the news outlets were trying to spin it in a way where it was like NBC does not want to engage with a gay show.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to talk about those articles because it was very much spin, because the quote that they used was from long before he left the project. It was just about how he was like going to be writing the story. So I was very intrigued. And also it's very believable.
It's very
that
believable.
The studio would balk at it, but then he went on Twitter to say that was indeed not the reason.
You wouldn't spill the tea.
No.
And I feel like putting himself out there to actually like refute a news story, that's kind of a big deal. People don't often feel the need to do that. So it's very interesting to me that Javi actually felt strongly enough about this to be like, no.
Well, that's like two things maybe at work here. One, like, let's not burn bridges with NBC.
That's true, yeah.
And two, maybe that's legitimate. Like, maybe they really were okay with, you know, the gay storyline.
But then the question becomes, if it wasn't a conflict about just how gay is this show, then, like, what was the conflict about?
Well, now do we believe the NBC woman from her quotes?
Jennifer Salke?
Mm-hmm. Her quotes were basically just, they looked at some material and decided that it wasn't time for the reboot, or wasn't deserving, at least was the word maybe that she had used. I can't quite remember.
I don't remember
like
the exact choice of
that
words.
might be
it
wrong.
Was interesting.
It was a weird,
she had a very careful way of, like, all of her statements were kind of like, should I be parsing this? There was the other one, Katie, that you were really interested in. She almost did this, like, call for submissions where she was like, anybody who has an idea of how to reboot Xena, we're open as long as you have a point of view.
Right. It was like, if someone comes into my office with a point of view, and I was like,
Did Javi not have a point of view?
That doesn't seem hard to believe. I mean, that seems hard to believe.
Javi has a lot of points of view. Yeah.
Well, I was interested very much to know what his take on it was, and we'll never know because it's owned by NBC, though he said he would love to make the pilot that he wrote available, but alas, we can't see it. But I'm really curious to see how much it is like the only show that he has ever been a showrunner for, which was The Middleman.
Yeah.
Which was very much on the... If we were talking about, like, Xena's scale of drama to silly.
The drama to silly
It was
spectrum.
very silly.
Yeah, it was very whimsical.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you think his Xena was maybe on the whimsical side
I have
of
no
things?
idea. I can't say, because he's also written...
I totally see that Jennifer Salke quote about the point of view being a way of saying, like, what we saw was too close to the original. Like, it wasn't transformative enough.
Of course, this is all speculation.
This is all speculation. Who really knows how to parse PR statements put out by Hollywood departments? Like,
and then my completely not factual hypothesis is that they had, like, a new people came in at NBC, and because they had a lot of stuff in development that was, like, 90s nostalgia stuff, like... You know, we have the Will and Grace revival, and then there was, like, talk
coming.
but there was, like, talk of, like, let's do everything from the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
So then the next thing was, like, let's not.
Yeah.
So...
Well, they, like,
now they're, like, 2000 revivals where it's at.
They wanted to bring back, number one, must-see TV.
Yeah,
and then they backed off on that.
Yes.
And then they also have, like, approached people like Aaron Sorkin and Tina Fey to literally bring back 30 Rock, The West Wing, ER. Like, I'm serious.
Well,
this was like an article from like 2 weeks ago.
Right.
That's so funny.
So the fact that, like, they changed their mind, let's say on the must-see TV front, maybe because, let's say, somebody new came in and was like, guys, we're not doing this. And also, chuck that Xena reboot.
Yeah, I mean, also, it's like the idea that the network was really supportive. Like, that could be totally true. And then at the same time, they have some kind of development vision for where they want to go. And it's all like this upcoming, like, fall into the next year, their drama slate is pretty... not very interesting to me, and they're like, you know, it's NBC, so it's a lot of like Chicago police and fire and whatever it is.
Law and Order True Crime.
Law and Order True Crime, which actually I
would
will
watch that.
Yeah.
I mean, Edie Falco
With
is
the hair.
going for the Sarah Paulson wig Emmy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, that was good. But then also, it's like, there's some military dramas, like, that I'm not, like, at all keen on. And I actually, like, just personally, I want this show to exist. We've talked about it in the mailbag, our, like, reboot thoughts. But I don't want it on broadcast NBC.
Yeah.
In 2017 or beyond.
Nobody should want a show they care about to be on broadcast NBC.
No.
Or any other network.
It's not a good place to be right
Like,
now.
Put it on
certainly
cable.
if they can't wrestle it away from NBC Universal, like Sci-Fi would be a pretty nice home for it. It would not get numbers.
Put it on Spike with Shannara.
But, oh Lord.
Doubleheader.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a lower expectation place would be good. You want a place where it would be more free to do stuff. And I think these days, like broadcast, it's just not a place where you can take creative risks.
Yeah, it's really not.
Yep. Well, they're not going to be taking no creative risks.
Anyway,
The
So
only risk is not doing it, apparently.
Yeah.
Basically, at the end of the day, they were like, this is not happening for now.
For now.
For now.
Though I guess we could also now want a revival of the original.
You might have to wonder why they're putting out this news at all. Maybe they're actually testing the water and seeing how people feel about it. Whether there's going to be an outcry that might.
Well, there definitely was.
Yeah, that might help them to decide what to do next with
I
the
kind
property.
of, at this point, I want both. Like, why not both? I want, like, a mini, like, series of originalness, and I want a reboot. I want them both.
I think
Why can't
we
I have
should
it all?
start a Patreon to fund everybody put their money in it, and we're going to buy out the property from NBC.
Let's put
but we get to showrun it.
Yeah. Oh, we'll do
We
it.
said
And
it
then
now.
it'll be a millions of dollars level.
I
Yeah.
volunteer.
Yeah, we
Actually,
volunteer
that's
as
too much pressure, and I do not want to do that at all. Okay.
Yes, let's forget about it. And let's move on to our very forgetful episode. No, it's not. It's really
It's
good.
not.
at all.
It's extremely memorable.
Yes, memorable.
It's
Antonym.
funny that it's called Forget Me Not because it just makes me think of Remember Nothing. They're like opposites.
Ooh.
Remember Nothing, Forget Me Not. Except they're both good episodes.
Yes. 317 Forget Me Not, written by Hilary Bader and directed by Charlie Haskell.
Charlie Haskell directed the Xena Scrolls. So for some reason, he's their resident clip show guy.
Well, he's so good at this.
He does a great job.
Does he get
It's a
paid
weird
less?
skill to have. Oh, no, I can't imagine they do that. But presumably there would be fewer shoot days.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
he would.
Well,
He's the cheap guy. They save money on directors with this
very
dude.
good at what he does, which is
Yes.
make amazing clip shows. Let's
Yeah.
talk again about how amazing Xena is at the clip show.
Now this one again steps even further. Like this had a major plot point. So like if you were like, man, it's a clip show, no, you're like,
You're just
what?
like, what did I miss?
Yeah.
You'll have to wait till the next clip show to see.
Oh my god. I also love how they more or less all like really prominently about Gabrielle in some kind of way.
Yes. Well,
Or
we
she
talked
like
about
features
that.
in a really fun way heavily. Like
funny.
Xena Scrolls, you know, obviously.
No.
Lucy fucks off and they're like, oh,
Right.
let's
Part
get-
of it is it's a light day for
Exactly.
Lucy. But also, I believe we said this back for Athens Academy, which is like Gabrielle is a bard. She's a storyteller. So it's a really like having her as kind of the point of view character for the show
Right.
is like legit. That's what the show is.
This one has like a good meta for the Xena Scrolls.
Yeah.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
gonna get to it. But yeah, so I feel like having these episodes where Gabrielle recalls the past and like the show is like what Gabrielle tells us. It's like her memories. Like that to me.
Well, that's the
makes
thing
sense.
that I liked the most about this one, and I'm gonna have to be, I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion or what, but I feel like this is my favorite clip show. It's because it's the most organic one. Because while there were points where Joxer takes out her scrolls, it's like, I'm gonna teach you your life, you know, like I'm gonna tell you who you are based on these scrolls that you wrote, and he starts reading them. You never go into a clip. Like
Right.
they don't use
It's
that
noticeable, yeah.
that
they
way.
don't do it.
The
Yeah.
way that they do the clips are strictly this is what Gabrielle remembers and experience. This is her memory. This is not like her stories.
Yeah.
So to me, that was like the most organic use
it's very
of
psychological. It's a traumatic flashback. It's not a clip.
Yeah.
I can't wait to talk about that one memory she couldn't actually have. Oh, I'm so excited for it.
And kind of furthering the concept of this episode was Rob and Liz Friedman. They wanted to do the clips as an overview of the Rift arc.
Nice.
So that's like even further, putting everything in a nice, like, very believable and just thoughtful like way. It's not just like these are some episodes from this season that were good. It's like this is like a whole thing, and everything made sense with Gabrielle.
Yeah, it's such a cool idea because a clip show is very much like leftover from the days before you really serialized your TV. Though obviously it's useful for serialization because you can remind people of things they might need to know about to understand later plots. But I feel like it's very much like a dinosaur. It's like from old TV. But serialization, we associate that with Now TV, with Peak TV. So it's cool to have like a plot that involves serialization inside a clip show, which is itself a part of this serialization moving the story forward. Like, it's just a really great marriage of old and new forms of TV storytelling.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why it resonates so much with me. Just because it feels more of the new rather than the old. So let's begin, and it sort of begins with a Lost-style flashback noise.
Oh my god, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, you know how like on Lost, whenever they went into a flashback, like you hear it first?
There's sort of a low noise.
Like, no.
Like a dying whale noise.
It's like a very specific, like, get ready, guys. You're going into a flashback.
But not do-do-do-do-do-do.
No, it's not like that.
We're
because it's serious TV, Lost. But this one, the first image is Xena's face going, Hope, the child is Hope, and you're like, holy shit.
You're just like confronted by stuff you thought you were past.
Yeah.
So you're just like, ah! And it's like the most intense shit. Like, this was a hell of a way to start an episode. It just felt like Rob Tapert reached out and grabbed you by your collar and shook you.
Yeah, so like the first clips of this clip show are Xena finding out that Hope's alive, calling her an instrument of evil, and then Gabrielle had already poisoned her and then trying to poison herself. Yeah. And that's like, and then she wakes up kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cutting from Xena saying she's an instrument of evil to Hope's dead hand, I thought that was a devastating cut. I think the editing of this episode is staggeringly good.
It's so good.
I think it's the first time that like it really jumped. I mean, the editing on this show is amazing. No one's doubting that. But I feel like as the series goes on, like they do more and more stuff with editing. And this is a really good like first kind of like look at our editing. It's because it feels like it's part of her
it's
mind.
Almost like it plays a starring role in this episode. The way clips are put next to each other, the way that you go into a clip, which is very psychological and kind of disorienting. Like, it does some really interesting things just purely with the way it manipulates the old footage. And yeah, this moment just totally shook me. I was like, that footage is already unbearably sad to look at. Like, they found a new way to make it worse.
Making it worse.
By the way, the editor of the episode is Jim Pryor.
Jim, you're awesome.
Yeah.
One other note about this first flashback, I also thought it was an interesting decision to present Gabrielle's suicide attempt without showing Xena there in the scene. Gabrielle's alone.
And it just really stood out to me that the clip of her trying to drink the poison didn't include her first kind of like covering Hope, implying that she, just killed Hope and maybe like wants to die because of that or something like that.
You feel like it's emphasizing more like her sadness about her child dying and less like her having killed her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of became more about Gabrielle. Yeah.
I think all these choices, that's really what it comes down to. They wanted to focus on Gabrielle in that scene. It works really well. But yeah, I really like how they've reshaped it.
Yeah, so she wakes up and, that's really dramatic what we saw.
Yeah, and like you see all that drama on Renée O'Connor's face. Like she starts this episode and it's like straight up despair. Like, oh my god, she's just shaking with it.
So it's a wide shot, but in the background you have Joxer.
It's like the two poles of this episode. Like
God.
on the left side of the screen, you're like, oh, my heart is broken, I can't look. And on the other side, you're like, no, I'll have to look at the other side.
Yeah, he enters and he's like Joxering all over the place.
I like him in this scene.
Why do you talk about it? Why
I think
you do?
he's being very comforting and good in this scene in particular, when she's clearly very upset. And I just like the way he's like, yeah, okay, we won't do that, or what do we do? Like, you know what I mean? He doesn't know how to help, but he wants to help. It's just it's like a good reaction from a friend.
I admit, I do kind of like the moment where she says, like, wait here, and stalks off. And he's like, for how long? And you hear the ticking clock. And he's like, oh, that's long enough.
Oh, no, but you hate when Ares has these sound effects.
I usually hate them. I think they work better for Joxer, just because, you know, Tweety Bird sound
makes
effects.
noises in general.
Like, he's a walking cartoon anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, that actually got a smile out of me, even though it was a little bit creepy, because he wasn't obeying her wishes, like, about this. But, like, I got it there, and I was like, he's trying to help.
So they're supposed to meet Xena at the Temple of Mnemosyne, and Gabrielle, like, literally can't. She's like, I can't. And then she, like, stalks off.
Which is exactly what she says in the Bittersweet when she wakes up inside the Deliverer. She's like, I can't, and tries to leave the scene. So.
Yeah, well, she does leave the scene and goes to a temple. It turns out that it is the Temple of Mnemosyne. They were, like, right there. Mm-hmm. And she, like, leaves all her stuff. I was like, oh, my God. She just, like, left everything and just, like, went straight there.
Is it a little like Xena burying her stuff?
She didn't. She just left it.
But she just left it. She just walks off into the forest. It is pretty extreme.
Symbolic.
Yeah, definitely symbolic.
So there's these two dudes who kind of, like, remind me of lions in front of a library. You know, like the stone lions. And just, like, are standing still, like, won't answer her, won't talk to her, as she's like, can I get in? What is this place, etc. And then they're like, the Priestess of Mnemosyne will see you now.
They're shot from below, so they look like giants in their gold outfits. A girl comes out of the temple. She reminded me of Meridian.
Meridian, yes.
I was like, oh my God, it's Meridian.
Do you think that was on purpose?
I don't know.
Probably not.
It's hard to say. I mean, you do see Meridian in a flashback a little later.
She's not wearing white. She's like in an orange dress.
It's a different
so it makes you question it. But at the same time, like, I just can't help but...
Creepy temples, girl who looks like Meridian.
The way that Gabrielle reacted to her, I thought was because she, like, looks like Meridian. But I think she was just like, whoa.
What's wrong with this girl?
She's being weird.
She's being weird. She doesn't know where she is. Yeah, she doesn't know who she is or anything like that.
And unlike Gabrielle, she didn't bring anybody to pick her up at the end of her wisdom teeth getting removed. So she's just wandering around, like, with nobody to help her. I was like, that doesn't seem safe.
Oh, my God.
Priestess of Mnemosyne should have, like, you know, had an escort for her.
Joxer should have uploaded Gabrielle onto YouTube, like, post-ceremony.
Oh, no. Shamed her.
Yeah.
Terrible.
So she enters the temple, and immediately it's, I don't know, is it a little creepy or is it a little comforting? I couldn't tell if it was like a spa vibe or like a creepy...
Good question.
Creepy spa.
I really love the shot of her entering the temple. It's very symmetrical.
Yeah.
She, like, goes through these, like, dark wooden doors, and then you see all this, like soothing blue and white tile everywhere. Everywhere it's blue and white.
And this, like, voice, you know, starts talking. And at first I was like, oh, my God, it's Lucy doing the Julia Child voice.
It does have that vibe a little bit, but also just a vibe of being very bad at acting.
I liked her choice. You know, this is the priestess.
I mean, I think it worked. I'm like, I don't credit her at all, but I feel like their choice to, like, have this particular level of badness, it was so off that it almost worked. You were like, this woman is just not living in any human reality I recognize.
Well, I guess she's not, because literally every time somebody comes in, she, like, knows everything about them. It's like a weird special... You know what? She's kind of like the precogs in Minority Report.
I like that analogy. Yeah, I definitely see... I mean, I see that more of as an idea than as an actual thing. Like, that woman can't act that. But it's just, yeah, it's just her line delivery is so strange. Like, she just emphasizes all the wrong words, like, rushes through these, like, really poetic sections where you're like, what? Huh? Like, all the exposition, you're just like, I did not catch any of that. I'm too busy just trying to understand how you ended up in an episode of television when you deliver lines this way.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the exposition that, was awarded to us here.
Like a gift.
Yeah. So Gabrielle has a lot of pain that she wants to get rid of.
Terrible pain.
Yeah.
She wants it to end.
She can't sleep or eat.
It's really bad.
Yeah.
It's really, really sad.
And the priestess tells her that erasing the pain of memory comes with a price. And she's like, are you prepared to lose everything you've known? And Gabrielle answers, yes, I'm prepared. Oh, wait a second. I can't read my notes. The guards said that, not the priestess.
The guards are also bad at acting, so I understand how you made this mistake.
Yes, because I was way confused by my scribble where it just says, Entar!
Entar!
Which is what he said to her.
Yes, he does. He sounds very sarcastic. Again, I think not intentionally. That's just how this person sounds speaking. Anyway, I think that line is really crucial, that whole exchange, because what Gabrielle is basically saying is, she's willing to give up her life with Xena for this because she feels she has to, which is exactly what Xena says to her in the dead, which we're soon about to see starts this whole business. So it's interesting that there's actually this wonderful symmetry that both women reach a place in their journey where they're willing to give each other up for something.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, yeah. So the priestess now, for reals, this time goes, you're here to find that part about you that you don't know.
That is a bad line. I don't know how anyone could say that and not sound
my
like
delivery?
they were a robot from Mars. But yeah, you sounded exactly like that, Vera. That part about you that you don't know.
She's a priestess. It's actually interesting because Gabrielle goes, can you help me? And then the priestess and the goddess together go, perhaps. Like in unison.
The goddess speaks?
Yeah, I think that at that moment, both of them said it.
I mean, that's cool.
Yeah,
I didn't pick up on that at all.
I think that's part of like
so
the
is
robot.
she like a robot because she's like a vessel?
Yeah,
for...
she's a vessel.
Oh.
Yeah. This lady is amazing at acting.
This is actually the best performance anybody has ever given.
Forget about Renée O'Connor. That lady.
Yeah.
She's an actual oracle.
So then she starts going on about memories. Memories are like water.
Memories.
That's not how the song
I
goes.
don't know how songs go.
Which one are you singing? Are you like singing?
It's the one where you dance to it on the cruise ship. Memories.
That's
Is that
I
not
don't
a
know
song?
whatever your tune is. I don't know if it's like Cats or
Please be Cats.
It could be Cats. I don't actually know what it is I'm singing. I just know there's a song that
I
goes
thought
like
it sounded a
that.
little
like misty watercolored
Yeah.
memories, like the way we were like Barbara Streisand.
I think-
or
I think
is it
it
like
was-
Cats, like memory?
Oh, it's a combination of both.
Yeah.
It's
I
unison.
think
I have to keep up
combine
saying
them.
Cats on this podcast right now.
So anyway, memories are like water. Some float deep, out of our reach, and others float easily on the surface.
Should we mention water?
We should mention not only water, but that rock that's under there.
Oh, yes, which we just saw in When in Rome.
Well, and the ring with the rock.
Yeah,
Yes.
good point. So yeah, we just had the water imagery in When in Rome, associated now with Gabrielle as well as with Xena. So now here is an episode about Gabrielle, and it's all about water and crossing these
And
thresholds.
guilt, which is like what those things are underneath
Yeah.
all that. All deep.
Yeah, so I love that. So this is Gabrielle's element too now.
So she gives her like this clay pot and...
It's a pensive. She makes it pensive.
Okay.
Harry Potter style.
Yes.
Oh
Memories!
my goodness.
And Gabrielle has to pour out some water into it, like Galadriel.
Oh, that's a good one
There you go,
also.
there you go. And
When
so
you look into the mirror.
she's also told that she's gonna have to cross 3 rivers of her memories, and then she'll find what she's looking for.
The answer to your pain.
Yes, and then she'll have a choice whether to dump the water out from that pensieve or what?
To empty.
Yeah, then she'll forget everything forever.
To basically to keep your past or lose it forever.
Right.
Those are the choices. Live with the pain or don't. I thought this was very psychoanalysis, this whole thing. The fact that there's a trauma that's buried, she can't remember it. She's like, going to like the experimental hypnosis to like deep dive into her psyche and like unlock this thing.
Right.
And the rivers are actually the rivers, 3 out of 4 that lead to the underworld.
Oh,
so it's
cool.
like the river of woe, the river.
Where was
of
Charon?
Well, the last one, the river of Styx, is not part
She
of it.
never quite got there.
Well, you don't need to go there. It's a whole different place.
Michael Hurst could
Sharon.
guest star this episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that it felt a bit like descending into the underworld, and it also felt a bit like the bittersweet. You
Yeah, it felt a little like the bittersweet.
Yeah,
to
you
me.
had these resonances where you're like, oh, this feels like a journey. Oh, this feels like a hallucination, but it's not quite any of those things.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like it was its own special memory palace thing, so I liked it. So meanwhile, outside, Joxer's trying to get in, and we have some like comedy bits with him.
He does like kung fu on the guards.
Yes, he
Yeah,
climbs a
climbs a
tree,
tree. Yeah.
and like can see. Now this was a weird shot because
Yes.
at first I was like, wow, the temple is like a Hollywood set, right? It's like fully done in the front, but like completely nothing in the back. I was like, it's just cut in half and they could see everything. But I think he was looking through a window.
Yeah, he's looking through a window down at the sponge bath.
Oh,
that's happening.
right. Put a coin in there.
You want a coin for the sponge bath.
For
All
the
right.
peep
Just
in.
for, peeping in right
All
at
of
the
his best
sexy
qualities
sponge
are in
bath.
this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk
We'll
about
discuss it, yeah. So he is like at the top of this tree, and of course he falls.
Do you want to talk about the sponge bath, or that just gets
I want to talk about Joxer
glided
first.
over?
Maybe when we go back into the temple.
Yeah.
I want to be back in there with the sponging, not
So,
out here.
One more note about Joxer. So he falls from the tree, and I thought it was really good kind of continuity that for the rest of the episode he has like scrapes all over him.
I didn't
It's
notice
like from
that.
the fact they were like, we can't ignore the fact that he just fell like
I guess that
20,000
wasn't.
feet.
He was a really tall tree.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was a really cool tree.
He was.
So yeah, the sponge bath, please. Let's talk about this little like ritual, I guess,
Yes.
ritualistic sponge bath.
I cannot
thing.
disassociate it from the beginning of
Boom
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 Ba.
Bob,
Right.
which is
The greatest Xena
a vid
vid
we
ever.
have mentioned. It's
made.
it's super sensual to me.
Yeah,
But also
for
it's
anyone who
anyone
is yet
watching it,
not
but also
seen
because
Boom
it's
Boom
Boom
Ba,
Ba.
it's Boom Boom Ba by the Vitter Charmax, like CHARMAX. Google it, you won't be sorry.
It's an amazing vid. So yeah, you have the two female attendants of the priestess sponging Gabrielle.
Oh yeah.
Really just sponging her like shoulders and boobs.
And
That's-
neck.
And neck. Yeah.
The
there's
most
neck
important
action.
parts.
Those are the parts where memories live.
They live in your neck.
Yeah. And meanwhile, the priestess herself doesn't get involved in the sponging.
She likes to watch.
She stands back a little bit doing her chants. She's better at chanting than speaking. I'll give her that. And she looks really good in the blue outfit. Blue again.
So outside, Joxer has a new tactic where he like throws dirt into these guys' faces and just like runs in. It works.
That worked
It
really
works.
well.
I
yeah.
thought that was a good plan.
Yeah, and he grabs Gabrielle.
And she's kind of like passed out at this point.
Yeah. The best actress in this episode, the priestess.
Not just in this episode, in anything.
In any episode ever of
In
anything.
television, media, cinema, all of it.
History, yes. Warns that if he loves her, because she can tell, like from
his memories.
that he should let her go on her journey and lose her pain. I thought that was a really good moment.
It was an interesting moment, but it also made Joxer seem kind of sinister because we, the audience, know we don't want Gabrielle to forget all the bad things that happened to her. That's not healthy.
No.
Like, so the priestess is saying, you should be helping with that. And Joxer was like, oh yeah, I'll make her forget, you know? And you're like, ugh. No, don't help this bad agenda. Joxer is wrong. He's being kind of gallant, but it's not for the right cause.
His dialogue here is just such a good representation of him in this episode where he's like, yeah, well, I can make her forget. And you're like, that's fucking sinister. And then his next line is like, I'm a forgettable person. Oh, Joxer.
And for once, like, that's not just him, like, kind of unintentionally putting himself down, which he often does, like, thinking he's bragging, but actually saying something not the opposite of bragging. Like, here he says it knowingly, and I thought that was, in some ways, a step for him, to just say that outright.
I just don't think he, like, understands... the joke there, though.
No, he doesn't understand the joke, and he also doesn't really understand what's going on.
Yeah.
So I do cut him a break, even though I'm like, oh, he's actually doing the wrong thing here. He wants to help Gabrielle. He thinks this will help her.
Yeah.
So he takes her body out. Now, so she's, like, in two minds, if you will. Yeah. So, like, there's shell Gabrielle, or, like, she's, like, a person, but she can't remember anything.
And body,
Yeah, and then we have, like, inside her brain, she's on this journey in this, like, crazy cave situation.
Yeah, it's very mystical, because if you, like, miss the first 10 minutes or something of this episode, you're, like, cutting between two plot lines. They both have Gabrielle in them, but they're, like, two different characters. So, yeah, this episode is cool because it's very, very simple, I think, in terms of its plot, but it's also, like, mysterious in the same way that Bittersweet was mysterious. It has this kind of metaphysical dimension. It's really interesting.
So let's talk about her journey into the first river. She's river of woe.
Got an outfit change.
Yes, toga.
When she, like, walks through, like, a bunch of doors. Doesn't she walk, like, a door and, like, slams shut? It's like she walks into, like, a dark doorway.
Does she?
Am I making that up?
She does.
Are you thinking of
the
Xena?
Beginning of the episode.
No.
When she walks into the temple, is
that
the
really?
Yeah. Here she like walks
beginning?
into a cave.
Oh, that's just the very, very beginning.
Steam,
okay, cool.
And she's got.
I like that. All right,
yeah.
then we missed that a long time ago. I really enjoyed that as well.
It's good. They're all. I feel like all these shots of Gabrielle kind of passing through thresholds, walking through doors.
Yeah.
That's very symbolic. That's very much like what this episode is about. I feel like we're going from like one state to another. Yeah.
So the River of Woe is...
this is the River of Wailing.
Oh, fuck. So the River of Wailing seems to be like just a normal river.
Yeah, like a cute little creek.
I don't think it looks cute, but...
I don't know, it looks nice.
It just looks like
There's
water.
There's like dancing water light that's really pretty that they perfected back in When in Rome at the end there with them on the boat lit by the water here.
Nice.
There's some really nice water light.
We didn't really discuss her outfit, but the toga, I mean, that's so bittersweet.
Yeah, you can't see that without thinking of her being dragged behind a horse.
Yeah, and also her sandals get a lot of focus in this episode.
She keeps stepping and stuff.
And do you guys remember how in vogue those were back in the 90s?
No.
Oh my
I wasn't
God.
wearing in vogue
I wasn't wearing them either,
90s.
but everybody in my school was. And... like, it's kind of crazy to think about because Greek-style fashion was so in at that time. I'm like, is it because...
I thought gladiator sandals were in, like, semi-recently, like, late 2000s.
Girl, that's because, like, fashion comes around again.
Oh, wow.
But, yeah, like, this was, like, going on. I definitely remember it in my like, middle /
I just remember the Doc
early...
Martens, which are back.
That's... yes. But anyway, this shit was in. There was a lot of, like... ancient Greek, Roman stuff in the air.
Xena did it first.
Yeah.
I wanted to note, since this is the River of Wailing, the soundtrack is doing a lot of work. Even before Gabrielle steps into the river, you hear these weird, kind of very faint, echoing sounds of screams, but I couldn't help but note that one of those screams, to me at least, was clearly a baby crying.
Oh, man, that's some creepy shit.
Yeah, that seems very apropos,
wow.
but also the worst.
Yeah, well, she's about to touch it, but suddenly Ares, he says he's there to protect her.
It's interesting that is his first kind of statement of why he's there.
Yeah.
And it's the truth, sort of. Protect her from the truth.
Okay.
He's kind of this defense mechanism.
Gabrielle goes, maybe you're here for your own selfish reasons. And he replies, aren't you? Which I think is really interesting. the word selfish
Yes.
already being thrown.
Well, a lot of the things that they talk about before the big reveal are absolutely big red flags for the big reveal. Like, this is some very smart writing. And I gotta say, this is, I think, my favorite Kevin Smith performance so far. I think he's top notch here.
Yeah.
He's so scary.
Yeah, there was a lot of really great line deliveries in the cave and then out of the cave.
He has a kind of jokesy quality here, and he does it like in this aggressive way. Like, he keeps aggressively making fun of her.
Yeah.
And it's upsetting. Mm-hmm. Like, there is just some quality to it that I find genuinely, like, freaky here in a way that I don't find regular flavor Aries.
See, this is the kind... Well, I mean, you do see a little bit of regular flavor Aries.
Yeah.
And
actually, he's pretty threatening.
He's really threatening. Like, his line delivery there, I mean, we'll get to it.
Is the difference that this is just Gabrielle alone? Having Gabrielle alone with Aries. We talked about it a little bit for Quill, which is that there is some weird tension there that I think works for me in some ways better than Aries and Xena.
But he brings it up here.
Yeah, he does bring it up here.
Remember Quill?
I'm glad
we were friends.
Yeah, he says that here. He's like, I decided I liked you after all, since we had that weird stuff happen to us in Quill.
I just think, like, back to what you were saying about his, like, sinister behavior. Like, I guess for the first time, I was like, oh, I can see how Xena would be attracted to that. Like, he's mean, and it's, like, hot.
I kind of agree. There's, like, a dark, sexy, like...
The meaner he is, hotter it is.
It's not, he's cruel. Yeah. Like, you're just, you recoil from it, but then you lean closer.
Yeah. So that's kind of like, I see her type. Like, I see how she would be attracted to that.
And it's super gross of me to say, but there is just a power imbalance here. You can tell that Aries belongs to this place. He's in on its secrets, and he's kind of lording it over her, that he gets how this works. Especially, I think, that moment where he sends her back through the second river.
But how do you reckon with kind of, like, the reveal
we'll talk about
what this is?
But, like, I think that is pretty clear, that throughout he kind of gets... He knows what's going on in a way that Gabrielle doesn't, and the way he kind of uses it against her, it's hot. It's a bad hot.
But it's like her own brain.
Well, we'll talk about that. I mean, that's fascinating.
Is it her fantasy of him then? If it's like her own...
I mean, it's definitely very much informed by, I think, her perspective of Aries and her hatred of Aries. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we'll get into it.
I'm jumping in.
You're leaping ahead.
Because it's hard to talk about, like, the character, because I spent this entire episode being like, I love Gabrielle and Aries. And then it's like,
out this isn't Aries. Yeah. Well, I mean, it is and it isn't, right? It's sort of like bittersweet, where you couldn't help but see Callisto is the fool and Aries there, and be like, it's Callisto and Aries. And then go, oh, wait a minute, it's not. Oh, wait a minute, it's Xena's representation of Callisto and Aries, and isn't that basically the same thing? And then you're like, just brain explodes.
Let's talk about her touching this river. She enters it.
The soundtrack goes, oh, memories.
And she splashes her face with it, which I thought was a little weird, but
that is weird.
I don't know why she thought to do that.
The pores needed some.
Because it's a spa.
Yeah. It wakes you up. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess part of it is you want the water, like, in her brain where the memories live.
Or I guess, like, if you enter, like, a cold lake, you splash yourself first to
get used to it. Yeah, that's right.
So I loved kind of, like, what happened next. As soon as she splashes her face with it, she literally gets hit with a bunch of memories.
Quick cuts.
Yeah. And I thought, like, the choices here were excellent. And
cross first, right?
Crucifixion, her on the cross first. Then it's Hope's first kill, that dude. She strangled as a baby.
So that's from Gabrielle's Hope.
Then it's Gabrielle killing Meridian.
Back to the Deliverer.
And then it's Gabrielle killing Crassus. So I thought that was so interesting that, it's not like a shot of Hope as a baby. It's like Hope's victim.
That's a good point. Yeah. Hope's victim, and then Crassus as sort of like Gabrielle's victim, and obviously Meridian as well.
So I mean, obviously, like, the representation, now that I think about it, is just like, oh no, the Deliverer led to all of this. I like jumped to, like, oh my God, she's traumatized by being on the cross. Like, the cross is what's traumatizing here, not like, oh no, she was in Britannia because Xena has a vendetta against Caesar and she wasn't paying attention to her.
It's both, though. I mean, obviously they've bundled these together because there is like a logical through line through them, but I think it's very psychological, these like weird flashes. I don't think you're meant to sit here and go, oh yes, well that led to that and then this happened to this. You're like, oh, this is Gabrielle in pain. This is Gabrielle feeling complicit in something. This is Gabrielle feeling complicit in something. This is Gabrielle in pain. And like those two things just mix together into this like confusing soup where you're just like, I don't know whether she did this or whether this was done to her. Help.
Well, she comes out of that river completely covered in blood, and what does she do? She
screams.
Wails.
That's true. Well, the blood on her hands reminded me of the bittersweet and of the deliverer itself, seeing the blood. That's obviously a very big, potent Gabrielle image. Yeah, and it's sort of what I'm talking about, where, like, you know, when the blood's on her hands, you're like, oh my god, Gabrielle did a bad thing, her blood innocence. But, like, it's very much a bad thing being done to her. Like, her blood innocence was taken away, like, against her will. Yeah. So I really like how that image is both her, like, as a victim and her as a killer.
No Carrie Prom jokes?
That's true.
Not a one.
You literally can't get past this image without one pig's blood.
Yeah, we did it.
Okay.
Good job, everyone.
But it's Hope who has the telekinesis.
That's true. Good
it's
point.
True,
Baby
true.
Carrie.
Yeah. Okay, so Gabrielle now is at her next river. It is an icy river. And this one is the River of Woe.
Whoa, this river's cold.
No, I hate when I laugh and it's like that.
That did not deserve a laugh.
Sorry. You laughed, though.
So Ares warns her that this one runs deep.
What does it mean?
Well, it's like that thing that...
It's full of the debt. A double episode.
It's you know, it has a lot of juicy shit.
Yeah, and what is the expression?
Oh, yes.
Still waters run deep.
Still waters run deep.
Right.
Yeah. Meaning that, you know,
a lot of...
the less you express, the more is in there. I do
Xena.
think this is a clue. That's definitely an idiom you could use about Xena, especially like season 1 Xena, where she really never,
she just didn't move her face,
facial expression. But I really like that he says, like, this river runs deep. This is the debt river. We know that the thing that she needs to remember is in the debt. So he's kind of giving her a clue at the beginning of the episode.
Right. Priestess said
she's going to the deep stuff. So
yeah,
it lives here.
So meanwhile, outside, Joxer, aka Jerkster,
I do like the Jerkster.
I like the Jerkster.
Is trying to get, you know, Gabrielle some of her memories back.
There's a really nice dissolve into this forest, like from the River of Woe, like the icy cave. Like the camera pans across it and it dissolves into the trees of the forest. And it's this very dreamlike moment linking these two stories. Okay, continue.
Well, he's like, this is your staff.
This is your bag.
Yeah, these are your scrolls.
I like that first he gives her barding stuff and only then her warrior stuff.
Sure. I mean, the scrolls is like the first thing she would remember. That's what he thinks.
That's what he thinks.
And then I really like how he was like, High Priestess was right. Gates are open, but no one's storming the castle.
It's a good line.
Yeah.
When I like started watching this scene, I was like, oh my god, she can't even talk. She's just like empty husk. And then, like, finally she said something, and I was like, oh, thank God. Like, it was
if you lost, like, all your memories of everything, she would then have, like...
talk or walk.
I mean, this is the slippery slope of this conversation.
I never understand that in amnesia cases, why people still have the power of language. Like, why you still remember that. Only that.
It's weird. I mean, I'm only familiar with TV amnesia.
That's true. So, as am I.
I don't know.
Yeah. So he decides to read from the scrolls to give her memories back, but just the good ones.
Like sins of the past.
So yeah, I was like, he's like, sins of the past.
The time you almost got sold into human slavery. Good times.
She's writing every episode.
Yeah.
Of Xena Warrior Princess.
We've been watching her scrolls. Didn't you watch the last clip show?
Sins of the past. It's just clear.
She picked the name. All the names are her fault.
Yeah, she picked Forget Me Not for this
The
one.
Dirty Six, that was her. She loves that movie.
Oh, fuck.
How reliable is Gabrielle the narrator?
I love that
Xena
this little
television
glimpse
show.
of Sins of the Past was, like, we see a part of Sins of the Past that we never saw.
Right.
Which is
Yeah.
her, like, the prequel to Sins of the Past.
Just like it was a nice
It
day.
was a
I
nice
woke up.
day in Ponadilla. I woke up.
Yeah, it's Gabrielle pre-slavery.
Yeah. I
auction.
kind of wanted him to continue. I wanted to hear that
Yeah,
stuff.
he's stopped by her being like, "What's a podidea?" So that's a problem right there.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to read these scrolls to her.
So meanwhile, real Gabrielle has found like an ice bridge, and she's gonna try to outsmart the river. But
That's surely going to work. Everybody knows as soon as someone's like, I shall outsmart this river, you're like, nope. Nature,
Her hair
no.
is getting fluffier. It's like all floofy.
I guess
and
it,
nice.
like, it keeps getting wet and then redrying and then
Yeah.
getting wet and then redrying.
yeah, we'll discuss hair continuity when she reaches the fire.
Okay,
River fire.
fine, I'm excited.
Unless I forget. So she tries to cross the bridge, and Ares is like, "LOL."
What's
And-
this line about? Sorry.
Yeah, there's like an analogy of control.
Ice.
The water represents our torments, the ice, the thin layer of control we have over it. I like that one. That was, again, very this like language of psychoanalysis, which I thought was really interesting to hear coming from Aries.
So Gabrielle, of course, once he says that, falls in because the bridge breaks.
She has no control.
Yeah, she like falls right in, and here is like the best editing, I think.
Yeah. And if we're talking about how all this stuff is like psychological and
Yeah.
great, like this whole thing of her like busting through the ice
Yes.
river and her whole idea of like trying to just stay above water so that it can't hurt her. It's all just like, it's so good.
Yeah, and the fact that it is the debt that she's trying
Yeah.
to tiptoe around,
Yeah.
like I think
Yeah.
is really just smart storytelling. Like you are being told that like the thing she does not want to face is in this river.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so she doesn't want to face big giant Xena face. That's what is hitting us with this editing right now.
Flashy, flashy, flash.
Yes.
Which, of course, is in the footage, the flash of the lightning, but then it's used like a lightning
Right.
flash itself.
And it's like the intercutting between Gabrielle falling into the water or like hitting the water and this memory kind of like making its way in. Like she doesn't want it. That's
No.
the thing. And so like it's the stuttery
Resistant
editing. Yeah, it's
to
like
it. Surfacing.
coming in there, forcing its way in. So it's Xena's face right when she's about to kill Ming Tian in his bedchamber. And, we know what happens. Gabrielle pops up. And
in her
prevents
terrible
it.
outfit.
Yeah.
That's my traumatic flashback.
Can we
Gabrielle's
talk
chin
about that
outfit.
thing that we never talked about her outfit when we were talking about the debt. We talked about Xena's outfit and how like, she gets put into it, but we don't really talk about hers aside from that you didn't like how it looked.
Yeah,
But like
girls.
there was like a really great comment someone had. What?
Did we not mention that?
I feel like
the perfumed.
No, I feel like there was a really great comment that I read, and I don't know if it was in. I don't think we talked about it in our podcast. Or might like I think.
Well,
but
you
now
guys
it's
get
just
to
stuck with
hear
me.
it again.
So now that we get to see her outfit again, that like you had Xena in this scene, like she's her dirty naked like assassin has been stripped to this level, and then like. So I feel bad that I can't remember where I saw it and where and who.
You didn't realize you had to research the debt.
No, I know.
for this
I don't
episode.
have the poster or the essay, but just described her as being like this like perfumed hypocrite in the court. Obviously, they gave her these clothes like to be in the court.
That's good. So
Yeah,
there's
and I
almost
was
like a
like, ooh.
class element to it. Yeah,
I thought that was
she's
interesting.
a
Anyway.
royal in this bed,
And obviously, it doesn't
naked.
suit her.
No,
So
it looks so
they-
awkward.
that kind of fits anyway.
And that fits later with her like sitting down with Ming Tian at that table.
Yeah.
She feels very out of place.
Anyway,
So this clip show section starts with Xena trying to kill Ming Tian. Gabrielle stops her. Next clip is we're back to before Chin, where they're playing 20 questions.
Flashback within the flashback.
Yeah. And she's like, is the green dragon a person? And
Smaller than a bread box, bigger than a bread box.
then it's Ming Tian sentencing Xena for execution. Then it's Xena and Lao Ma fly fucking.
let's talk about that. That's what I want to talk about.
They had to put that in.
Oh, I know they had to put that in.
They were proud of that one.
I have questions about this
here.
because what?
Go
Is
ahead.
it the
What's
same
your
thing?
question?
I think
Well,
it's the same question.
Is it the same question?
I don't have a question.
Didn't Gabrielle not hear this part of the story?
I don't know if she heard this part of the story or not, but like I think she imagined this part of the story, and
I'm
this
with
is the
Katie.
footage that the show has to show
Because
us
Gabrielle
that
is
part
the
of the
teller
story.
of the show Xena, so everything you see is filtered through
Mind
Gabrielle's
blown!
perspective.
So if she's thinking about Xena with Lao Ma, she might be thinking of something, and this is what she would have thought of.
Oh,
Maybe.
MG.
She put that golden filter on.
She put that extra wind in there for their fabric.
I mean,
Anyway,
of
I'm just
course
explaining
we
this
know
memory that she doesn't
Xena
have.
told
Yeah.
Gabrielle about this part of the story because
Yeah.
it was integral to
She did
everything that
not.
happens. I mean, I know we didn't see her do it, but
She left for
Well,
Chin.
It doesn't matter if she told her about like the floating around in the sky
Yeah.
part,
Yes.
but the very specific Xena's relationship with Lao Ma is what this
Yeah.
whole episode that
I
we're
have a
talking
feeling
about hinges on.
any flashback that Gabrielle didn't directly experience the way
Like she didn't see Hope kill that dude. She was
Yeah.
asleep, but she knows that it happened,
happened.
maybe.
But it was like right next to her.
I'm sure Xena, like after each of these adventures, says, "Gabrielle, let me tell you about the things you missed." Like,
Gabrielle, one time, I was fly fucking with Lama. Good.
Anyway, Gabrielle certainly imagined it.
Well,
I mean,
after
Gabrielle didn't know she had those like powers. I remember at the end of the debt, she like freaks out when Xena is suddenly airbending. So
See?
afterwards, Gabrielle was like, "Well, what's with the airbending?" And Xena's like, "Yeah, I fly fucked Lama this one
she taught
time."
me airbending. All right, so right after that fly fucking, she's like, "You owe someone so much. You throw away these last few years for them." And Xena being like, "Yes."
This is the first time we're seeing this flashback this episode.
Yes.
And even initially in the episodes that it's from, they showed this scene.
Yeah, this is
more,
the
more
scene.
than once. This scene, they
Wait,
yeah.
they showed it more than once
Yeah.
in the dead, like in the previous.
Well,
scene?
it was no
The second one?
No,
No.
right before she's gonna kill Ming Tian.
Oh, that's right. They do a flashback.
That was like
to
from
it.
Xena's POV.
This is like the
So,
most important
okay,
thing that's ever
here's
happened.
my question.
Maybe.
I mean, maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit with asking this. Like, did RJ know this twist in Forget Me Not like happened in the debt when writing the debt? Did he
Oh,
leave room for
interesting.
this?
I thought that Hillary Bader implied that he did from an interview.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, I did
But
not
it was
see
just
that.
like a tiny line
like
without
that they wrote
elaborating.
in those episodes that Gabrielle certainly appears. Like
yeah, and I'm sure
they might have
that must
thought
have been
about
a
it.
problem for RJ. He must have been like, how'd she get there? So
Yeah.
maybe he came up with
I
that
mean,
for himself.
that seems
Let's
possible.
give him the benefit of the doubt.
I will.
and say
I think
that
I will. I
they
think
I
that
had
know
would
a
come
they
plan.
up.
didn't know about it in Bittersweet.
Mm.
Steve and Chris did not know. And
Or maybe he didn't tell them.
Yeah, and obviously the freelancers for One Against an Army didn't know. So I mean, maybe it's who knew what when.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems to me that this would have been a question RJ would have asked himself when writing the debt. So it may have existed in some form.
So after that scene, the last one from the clips is Gabrielle slapping Xena in the pillory, and then Xena refusing.
Say it!
Yeah, and Xena refusing.
And
So-
it's hard to do justice to just the perfection of each of these cuts between the footage. The way you go from Gabrielle being full jello, like,
Yeah.
to her slapping Xena saying, "Say it." And the way that footage of Xena fly fucking Lao Ma plays in that. Like, just having these images together, they're telling you everything you need to know to, like, understand Gabrielle's thinking.
But I also really love the order of this. Unlike, I guess, the Deliverer stuff, where it was just like so in order of chronology of the episodes. Like this was like how your mind works, where you think of one thing and then you remember another thing. Yeah,
It's the feeling.
yeah. They did it. I can't remember the episode now. They did it with like some clips before, like where you saw maybe it was Xena related, where you saw like her kill like Callisto, and then it was
That's
like,
from
something
the
else.
dead.
Oh, that's from the
her
dead.
flashback
Yes,
from
yes,
the dead.
exactly. So they did
Yeah.
a really great job there too with like how a mind works.
Yeah, they don't. There's nothing that links them other than the feeling of the character.
Yeah, like
looking
what
back
she's.
on them.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and I feel like they just gain more power just because they're not in order. So that was fun. That river there.
That river's full of some of the best stuff that's ever been on Xena. We like you, River.
And then Gabrielle pops out of it like she's super cold and she's shivering. And Renee was like, thank goodness I saw Titanic.
Wait, wasn't the note for some of this stuff like that the cold river was hot and like the hot river was cold?
Yeah, yeah. That's the magic of movie making.
Yeah, you gotta make, like, I guess if you have fire on water, it needs to be like cold water.
Right.
Yeah,
otherwise
it's confusing.
you cook.
Yeah. I love the little detail that Ares gives Gabrielle the fire.
Yeah.
I liked that. He was actually being helpful for a change.
Well, he didn't save her, she was like...
No, but
he said he'd be there
This
to save
feels
her.
very true to, like, what he is, which is this kind of, figure where you're like, is he there to help? Is he there to hurt? He says all these mean things, but then when she gets out of the terrible situation, he makes her a fire.
All right, so Gabrielle thinks she cracked it.
She remembered our favorite scene from The Dead,
Scratch my nose.
Will ya? And she was like, wait, that happened. I confessed. And, like, said how much I hated myself. Like, haven't I come to terms with all this dark stuff already? Like, I feel bad for things that I've already apologized for and confronted. Like, this is all a mistake. I could leave.
Right.
This is great, I think, because we all do this kind of magical thinking where you're like, something's bothering me. But I figured it out, right? Like that justification I had, which was a total lie, where I said I was really doing things for the right reasons. That was the truth, right? I feel guilty for no reason. Yay. I feel like this is like perfect psychology. And for Gabrielle too, the fact that she's like, I want to just tell myself the pretty lie, the same one I told Xena, that I did this because of my reverence for life. That's what she holds up as her motivations for her decision making in The Dead. So I love that this is almost like a smokescreen memory. She's like, this one solves everything. And you're like, no, that's the lie.
Yeah.
That's the lie.
So she thinks she got it, and she decides to cross the river back, but as she's doing that, suddenly like all the ice starts surrounding her.
We have to talk about this moment where she goes back into the river. Ares' behavior to her, I feel like, changes in this moment when she has this idea that she's actually solved the riddle and can go back. I love how he says, you're such a smart little girl.
Ooh.
It's, I don't know, again, like kind of in a bad sexy, but there also is some genuine affection in it. And it's interesting that he's saying it in a moment where she's deluding herself. She's being smart in the sense that she's trying to think her way out of this. She's kind of trying to con the rivers.
Yeah, she's trying to smart.
She's like, come on, nah, I did it. See? I did my homework. I really love that line. But then the greatest one is when she's like on the bank of the second river, about to go back in. Ares is out of focus behind her, and he says, I'll be here to save you again. Yeah. That is, if you don't mind owing a favor to the god of war.
Yeah.
The exact same line that we will see he's going to say to her IRL in the memory that she's forgotten. So he is literally quoting the answer that she's in denial about. And she has her back to him. She's not looking at him. She does not acknowledge that this happened.
I'm saying the answer has been in front of her face the whole time.
I mean, like
this
all
is
of it.
Such beautiful filmmaking. Like, I love that he was out of focus. The fact that this thing that is the answer, you can't quite see it yet. He's just hovering behind her.
So good.
And I love that they plant it, literally word for word, in the episode. I think that's just, it gave me chills when I realized they'd done it. It's pretty subtle.
Yeah.
Like, you probably need a second watch to even pick up on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, when the answer is revealed, you sit there being like, oh, shit!
Yeah,
like,
it's
for
so good.
Everything. Like, all of it.
Maybe we'll pin this conversation for just a few minutes till we get to the answer. But, like, there's so much good stuff in the way they choose to reveal this.
She's surrounded by the ice, and the river closes in over her, and she's, like, freaking out, but then she busts out and kind of, like, crawls back into that.
This whole moment, though, is really scary when it looks like she's actually going to be trapped under the ice.
Yeah, that was a commercial break.
That was a commercial break. I felt genuinely upset for her. Like, this, I think, of the moments in the episode actually really got me. It's scary. And it's weird because when you think about this episode, it's just like the same set over and over again, like dressed up to be different. And yet this moment just had something quite real. And I think some of that is just the circumstance, or like drowning in this water with like Aries standing there laughing at her.
Yeah.
And, like, Renee's performance here is so good. Because, yeah, she's, like, afraid of some magical ice flows that are just kind of moving in at her. They're like ice cubes. She's like, no.
It's, like, claustrophobic.
Yeah, and then she's, like, under
it. It could be dumb, but it's really quite scary. And, I think they do a really good job of realizing it. I think that shot, like, through the ice where you see her hand pressing at it,
I mean, you never want that.
That's not
good.
Yeah.
Nope. So she crawls back out, and Aries is right there, and she's like, "Look, I can't go back, but I'm afraid to go forward. It's a pickle."
He's like, "We'll just stay here and die."
All right, so back with Joxer and shallow gaps or hollow gaps.
And we gotta say, how crazy it is that it keeps cutting from like this like really dark nihilistic stuff, like Aries laughing about how Gabs is gonna stay there and die. You cut to like, LOL Joxer.
Yeah, how do we feel about that?
I think it works.
I mean, it works, but at the same time, every time we cut back, I hate it.
Okay, I mean, yes, of course, because there's a good plot in this episode that matters, and a bad plot with, like, literally a shell of the character you care about. But I think the fact that the Joxer plot is about to get really creepy to match the creepiness going on with actual Gabrielle, I think that's cool, because it's not just, like, silly comedy subplot. It's kind of like a creepy mirror of everything that's really happening to Gabrielle. This like weird possessive guy who's like kind of doing non-consensual things to her. Like that's Aries too. Like
So I mean, it starts with Gabrielle being like, "My outfit gets smaller every season."
Oh, that's funny. I mean, it is funny.
Yeah, her boobs are enchanted.
Enchanted sports bra.
She loves the Joxer the Mighty song.
I think that's legit.
But this is a continuous thing. So whenever she's not herself, she loves it. I can only think of 3 episodes, but is it more? I don't know. Where she kind of can't remember herself. And like all of them, he tries to gaslight her in some kind of way.
Always. That's his thing. Whenever he gets an opportunity, he goes for it. Jeez. A coin, please. Bring me out of my misery problematic jar.
So he whips out another scroll, and he's like, all right, I'm going to tell you the story of Callisto. And I was like, oh my god, they're going to show a fucking clip of Callisto like from season 1? No, I was like, what? No, this has been perfect without that. Don't go here. And so he starts reading, but it's not a clip. Instead, he's like, do you remember the time when I fell in love with you? Remember the time when we first met, girl?
Memories!
Because he wanted to read her the first time they met.
Yeah, which is sweet, sort of. Again, it's not that sweet because when he actually sees what she's written, like what her first impression of him was, he invents this completely different story.
Yes.
And begins gaslighting her.
And really elaborating on the scrolls.
Yeah. Yeah, she would be so mad if she was in her right mind. She'd be like, oh my god, my beautiful words. Oh, you gotta quickly call out that moment where she's like looking forward to meeting Xena. And she's like, do you think she'll like me? And Joxer's all like, grumble, grumble. Probably. Speaking of mirrors between the subplot and the main plot, Joxer is jealous.
Oh, snap. So, speaking of that exact thing, as you said, Gabrielle reaches the River of Fire, and I was a little disappointed.
Does this river have a name?
No, it's the River of Fire. That was literally my next thought, because I was like, why doesn't it have a fun name?
Revelation.
Yeah, like, why doesn't it have something like that?
The River of Truth.
Or like the River of Torment, because like truth is torment or something.
Truth is torment.
And it's like, it doesn't have that, it's just
the
fire.
River of No! That's what she yells coming out of
it. Let's call it that.
Okay.
So she reaches the River of No! Oh, and so this comes right after the story of Callisto, which I thought was interesting because fire.
Oh, good point.
Yes.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Also, I love that, river of revelation, truth, whatever, is fire and water. These, like, opposites existing together, which feels very bittersweet, yin and yang, all those very Xena-y ideas.
Ares keeps telling her that maybe there's no point to all of the stuff she's been through with Xena, and Gabrielle disagrees.
I love this bit where she says, "You're wrong, not with Xena." She adds that little bit on.
Yeah.
He could be wrong about everything else. Like, everything
Not
else
with
in her
Xena,
life might not really have any meaning. But all the stuff with Xena, that has meaning for Gabrielle. I thought that was a very romantic idea.
So I guess, like, I would give this, like, less points for organic transition. Because it's one of those, like, one time we were in the bittersweet.
Yeah, this is the most clip showy moment. How do you integrate the bittersweet in?
You just remember. She touches a fucking river, another river, and, remembers
It's just really hard. I feel like the bittersweet it literally existed in a bubble universe, and it's very hard to bring it in a way that feels
You just don't
organic.
like that she canonically is like, Solon brought us
I fucking hate it. I hate that
Which
she's
means
like,
that it's a real place. It all happened.
Yeah.
He made it, and he
Guess
brought
what?
them there, and she remembers
But
it
was
that
it
way.
all set in Illusia the whole time?
Yeah, she doesn't say that, so it could still be. I hope Solon brought them there just in the sense that, like, the events with Solon brought them to the point where they went there. That's how I interpret that.
Well, anyway, back to the great line of not with Xena. Like, this is the, like, key, because the whole choice that she's making is really, it's like, erasing all your painful memories, but it's really erasing Xena, because it's everything to do with having met her. This is her, like, eternal sunshine of the spotless mind decision, right? It's like, erase this relationship or not.
And I think we know what choice she's going to make.
Yeah, it's over. This is the end of the show.
She's gonna forget.
Hit the delete button.
So so she shows us Hate is the Star and Hearts Are Hurting Part 2.
Basically in full, right? They they can't change the editing here because they have the music to work with. So maybe this is why this one doesn't
But also,
feel
like, when you
as
tell it,
exciting.
it's not your brain. She's telling this to him.
Yeah,
She's
that's
like,
true. Yeah, that's a good point.
Like,
She's
Scratch
not
My
in a
Nose.
river.
She told
in the same way as we saw Scratch My Nose basically in full. Yeah, you're right. The presentation of these clips is different depending on what's actually going on with Gabrielle.
So she, it finishes, and Gabrielle says that it was all worth it. And Ares goes, then why are you still here? Which I thought was really nice.
All of Ares' lines, like, even you saying it now, Vera, they give me the goosebumps.
Yeah.
They're very...
All right, so she steps into the river of fire.
Back to the debt.
Yes.
You owe someone so much that you would just throw away these last few years. Yes. And then the crane shot, craning away from her. That's how... Maybe it was even a commercial break. I don't really remember. In the dead.
I think so.
It's hard to... the way those episodes are structured, it's kind of hard to know. But anyway, it definitely ended on that crane shot. Gabrielle alone on the dock watching Xena leave.
Right. And then, in the show, I believe we've just followed Xena after that.
Right.
But here, we're seeing Gabrielle's POV.
The scene continues. I get such goosebumps. This scene just continues.
Yeah. I mean, it was
There's
really...
more in the scene.
It was really, like, seamless, too. Like,
same
everything...
makeup, same braid.
Just, like, the lighting, everything. Just everything really matched.
Because I think they needed to get this right. This was, like, the one sequence in the episode that just had to be perfect. It had to match the dead. It has to feel like something that maybe just ended up on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, no, it literally
it's a perfect
seemed that
retcon.
way.
They've already set up the retcon to be perfect for you not to be like, you came up with that later. For you to just be like, holy shit, we just didn't get to see this, but it totally happened.
Yes.
And like, if they had not been able to shoot this footage to look exactly like the dead, it would have broken the illusion. And they did a great job. Yeah,
so we see Gabrielle, and then in the background, there's Ares creeping.
It's so good. I love how that reveal of him there, and you just, oh my god.
So she, in this cave, twirls around and is like, it's you!
It's so good. This cut from Ares standing there to her in the river, which is on fire. She's on fire.
She's so on fire.
And she's just like screaming, you! And then,
Well, he like shrugs and apparates.
Yeah, I love that he shrugs and just GTFOs.
Yes.
I mean, I do think, like, this moment to me is so wonderful. And like a lot of moments in Xena that, like, reach this level of intensity for me, I can't even tell you why. Just, like, the force in her voice when she shouts, you. And that cut to him with that shit-eating grin in the past. And you're just so mad. But also there's triumph in it. Because she, like, knows the truth. And now you know the truth. And you're like, holy shit, that's how she got to Chin. It's just a great... It's one of those moments where you can tell the writers are really proud of themselves. Yeah. And it's like
so good.
It's like earned.
Yeah.
You're like, you should be proud.
Yeah, no, everything about it is amazing. And also the fact that you don't even see the whole scene yet. Like, it's
But
cut off.
You
Like,
know,
that's,
yeah.
she just could only handle
All
this
you
much of
need
it.
is Ares there, and you, the viewer, kind of get exactly what happened.
But it's interesting
It's
because,
so good.
you know, it implies, like, he's the bad guy right there. But, like, when you see the rest of the scene, she's the bad guy.
Yeah,
and that's
but
so interesting.
Once you see the rest
shift.
of the scene, I mean, it's pretty amazing because clearly he's manipulating her. He doesn't have to say anything, you know, and he very deliberately does it. He won't even say, like, you know, I'll send you to Chin if you want. Like, he just kind of implies that he can, and she takes the bait.
I mean...
So, I mean, I love that he is the bad guy here. He is trying...
He's always the bad
He's
guy.
trying to, like, put a wedge between Xena and Gabrielle. Yeah. He's quite obviously doing it for that reason.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant plan.
He gets it now.
Yeah. Finally understands.
Finally! Yes!
Yeah, and I mean, in a way, I think that's part of why this is so good, because as soon as you see that Ares is there doing this, you're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
You know, this is smart. I have respect for Ares for getting in on this, for, like, being responsible for this. Because, like, of course he'd be. Of course he'd be involved somewhere in the rift. Yeah.
So she's making her way through the river,
Still on
and
fire.
she is, becomes very much on flame.
I love that
Blaze.
beautiful shot. The, like, water, like, she's in the water. You see, like, her clothing
Yeah,
in
the
it.
toga is,
Yeah,
like-
you see the toga, like, catching fire, like,
Yeah.
the train of it in the water. It's just a beautiful shot. They actually, like, lit that thing on fire.
Yeah,
I'm
that
sure she
person-
wasn't wearing it when it was on fire.
That stunty got paid.
Yeah, that stunty was completely fire.
But I love it at this moment because, like, yeah, I think the overriding thing is, holy fuck, she's so on fire. But just the idea of, like, this is, like, the worst thing in her memories that she's been trying to uncover, and this thing that's been, like, in the background, but it's now, like, consuming and, like, engulfing, you know, the
She's, like,
situation.
burning alive with her own jealousy.
Oh my god!
It's true. So,
And her anger at realizing
Yeah.
that Ares, in
Let's-
some sense, did this to her, though it's
Talk
debatable.
about this.
Yeah, her jealousy burns.
Jealous. It burns. She burned.
She can do fireballs.
She can?
Yeah, there's, like, fireballs.
Oh,
when
yeah.
she puts it out?
When she does You're Wrong.
Okay,
right?
so she makes it out, right? And she's like, yeah, she's very burned. She, like, flops down onto the other bank. She's alone now. And she's kind of, like, sprawled in a fun way.
And Ares comes to gloat.
Yeah.
He actually, his lines here reminded me again of the Bittersweet. It sounded like he was about to break out into song, because he kind of does this, like, yes, now you know, but your strength is gone. The truth you looked for, it's done you no good. Like, it's, like, very sing-song. It's like, Ares, what episode are you in?
Yeah, and so she goes, you're wrong. And then 6 more times.
And, like, pounds on the rock.
Yeah.
It's
So,
a little bit like a baby throwing a tantrum, but, like, in an adult
but, like,
upsetting
better
way.
than Pompey.
Yeah, I mean, it's not at all a baby throwing a tantrum, but it's the
In
same
an adult
image.
upsetting way.
Yeah. I mean, this is an amazing moment, and it's an empowering moment. Like, her voice has this, like, ferocity and the strength that we've never heard from the character. Like, I feel like Gabrielle has, like, broken through something, and this
Yeah.
is, like, a different person we're hearing talking. Like, it's cool.
Yeah, so it's like she's gaining a massive amount of agency right now.
Yeah.
And every time she says you're wrong and hits her fist, there's like an explosion sound.
And a fireball.
Well, the thing is, it's she's putting the fire out on her body. So every single time she does it, it's like less and less
exercising the fire
until
she's letting it
engulfing.
go.
Yeah,
The fires of jealousy. She's like, fuck them. No.
Yeah, so she goes less and less fire.
It's God now.
Less and less fire
Please.
until she is naked.
Just for a flash, right?
Of
One
course,
of the
yeah.
you're wrong, she's naked.
And then she is back with like an unburnt toga.
That also reminded me of Bittersweet, where you see her naked butt in that
Well,
first
it's
shot.
probably the same butt double.
Butt double, yeah.
But it was really great, like unexpected imagery, you know? Like
I love that it's just this flash. The first time I saw it, I was like, whoa, did I see what I thought I saw? I had to go back and look. I'd look, you just have to.
You have to go back and look. You creeper. No, it's really great imagery, and I mean, like, it took until, like, the end of season 1 of Game of Thrones to see that kind of thing again, where a lady goes into a fire and comes out naked. Gabrielle the Unburnt.
Hillary Bader, in the interview, this image was mentioned to her, and she said something about how, like, she sees it as revealing the fact that Gabrielle is inside an illusion, not to be confused with Illusia.
Both of these episodes are in Illusia.
We've
All
never
of it.
left
We've left the whole sins of the past. Illusia.
But yeah, the idea that Gabrielle is sort of naked and clothed at once. You're not sure which of these versions of reality is the truth. Probably none of them is. It's all a projection. It's all inside Gabrielle's mind. This is a way of, like you said, Vera, like she has agency now, which means she can actually control these projections. Like if she wants to be naked, she's going to be naked. If she wants to be clothed, she's clothed. If she wants to have her staff, she'll have her staff, which she's about to have.
But it's just very easy for them to have gone from burning toga to just clean, nice toga. They didn't have to put the naked one. I think the naked one is just very specific.
You think it's like
it's there,
she's
it's
being
important.
stripped of her illusions. So for at least a second, she's just being naked.
Yeah.
Like naked
I
in
think
the
it's
truth.
important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just even kind of reminding you of Bittersweet, I don't know. And also the spa. So yeah, like you mentioned she gets her staff. Ares was already like, you don't have any strength to fight me, mwahaha. But she sure does.
She beats the stuffing out of him.
Yeah. So it's revealed that it's not Ares. It's really her guilt in the
it's a
shape of
part
an Ares.
her. It's the part of her that doesn't want her to know the truth. It's a little unclear. Is it guilt? Is it denial? Or is it something that seems very much like Ares, this like dark sexual power that loves to torment her, which seems like neither guilt nor denial, but
what if it's guilt of her like
third option.
attraction to Ares? No, I read it as guilt because it's this being was like trying to hide, what was going on, but also like taunt her with it.
Yeah.
So it's like always like.
And keeps talking about how she should forget Xena and die.
Yeah.
Like, all this dark shit.
Right, but also the fact that, Joxer brought up Callisto, and Callisto is the personification of Xena's guilt. So I thought that the two, like right after that, Gabrielle walks into the fire, room. So I couldn't help but connect the two.
This also reminds me of something you said, Vera, when we were talking about the bittersweet, which is you wanted in the beginning section of Illusia / not Illusia, depending on your perspective.
Not Illusia.
The correct perspective or the incorrect perspective?
You wanted the two spirit guides who are not
Yes.
at all like the spirit guides in Illusia, whatever.
Yes.
You wanted Ares to switch places
Yes,
with Callisto.
I did.
You wanted Ares and Gabrielle.
I did.
Callisto and Xena. Seeing Forget-Me-Not now, you really understand why Ares as Gabrielle's spirit guide would be a really great
It would have
idea.
been epic. And it would have really matched. Like the
Yeah.
two
It
like
would have
we're
set this
already
episode
we're
up.
look at how much we're connecting with Bittersweet in general here.
Yeah.
Like having that been like the pairing would have been extra. Like we would have been all over it.
And it would have been more evidence that we were in Illusion.
So after she fights him, he's kind of like crouched over, beat up, and she finally, is allowed to see what she's been trying to avoid. The
We
full
get the
scene.
full flashback.
Yes, the full flashback.
Oh my god, I'm not ready.
So we're back on the docks. Xena has left, and Ares is there, and we're in Gabrielle's POV. She is just so lime green jello.
Yeah, to the point where, like, I feel like her makeup is a little green. Like, I'm serious. The whole scene, she looks a bit green. I wonder if they put a very slight little green filter on that thing.
Green with envy. You reminded me that I was supposed to mention her hair in the fire scene, where
yes.
you could see that it's clearly like two different takes that they're combined into one. Where like in one take her hair is like really sweaty and matted, and then the other one's dry and like floofy.
No.
That's because she wanted it to be fixed.
No,
she could do anything.
But it's like before she
switching back
goes
and
into the
forth.
river.
Maybe she doesn't have perfect control over her powers. She's like, what's happening in this illusion? So yeah, let's talk about what Ares says to her here. He like just twists the knife immediately.
Oh God.
He's just like, well, there she goes without you. Kind of makes you feel second best, doesn't it?
Oh my God.
Wow, Mom must be important. It's just like, let me tell you all the subtext from the dead.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't even have to
Concise.
be the witness like Callisto
No,
does.
yeah, he does
He's
not.
just like-
He literally is just like literally there to like make her feel worse.
Yeah.
Gabrielle's like, Xena has her own decisions to make, and he's like, seems more like an obligation to me. She would never do anything like this for you. Like,
That's so mean.
Dude.
She totally would. You give up your family, your home, your blood innocence, your daughter, all because of Xena. And yet it's like nothing compared to the debt she owes this woman.
I mean, when you put it in a list like that,
I'm kind of with him. I think she should go and betray Xena for sure. I mean, that's what's good about this.
yeah, this is really well written. So, like, I read a little note that said Renee was initially not into Gabrielle being so jealous, and I was interested in that perspective because it's one of my favorite traits of
Oh my
Gabrielle
God,
that is
yeah.
consistent and has not, I mean, it's not like it was just introduced here.
Yeah.
It was like
We just did forgive
the whole
him.
yeah. And I mean the debt, like,
Yeah,
you
it
know,
was there in
the
the
whole
debt.
thing.
And it's
Which
going to
is
continue.
what
That's
we're
another-
basically talking about. So I thought it was interesting that she had trouble with it at first, just because I think it's such a good, it's so good, it's so human,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you would,
It's-
I feel like she would feel this way.
Gabrielle isn't a saint. She's a person, and you know she like is an innocent person, a naive person, and that's the kind of person who would make this kind of mistake of just being like, I thought I was the most special person in your life. You've told me that over and over for like 3 seasons, and now there's somebody else. Like, you know, she's just not used to not being
Yeah.
the special one, and I think that totally makes sense that there would be hurt there, especially after what happened to her in The Deliverer
Yep.
and Gabrielle's Hope. Like,
Yeah.
you can't factor out that sequence of events in this. Like, she has this sublimated anger towards Xena for so many reasons, and I think it's natural that it would just explode out of her in this way.
I believe Steve Sears also commented on this in like a DVD featurette, where the fact that like 3 seasons we've just had these very specific speeches from Xena where she's just like, you are the most special person ever to be born, you're the best, you keep me like, I can't do anything
so
without
good.
you,
You're so
the
pure. I
Yeah.
love you and need you so much.
every episode.
Yeah.
And it's like, how could she not believe that? You know, how
Yeah.
could she be like, what? You tell me this every day and then here you go, like flouncing off
That
with
is
this other
just so
bitch?
human and so much a part of loving someone.
Yeah.
Is that you begin to take what they say about you as the truth and
Yeah.
you know, kind of factor out reality, which is just a much more complicated thing.
It is my favorite aspect of Gabrielle.
It's so important, and like I totally see in Renee's performance in this episode. I think she's amazing here. To me, this really feels like a kind of
breakthrough for her. I do just feel like she has never been as good as she is in this episode. Like, this episode, to me, she carries this just like single-handedly.
Yeah, well, of course.
Like, it is so powerful and so just like elemental.
But like without this, her, like, what she was so married to about the character is just how like pure and like perfect she is.
Yeah.
And how she plays everything like correctly. Like, oh, she literally was there to stop this murder
feeling
for
like
Xena.
My character is right.
And it's like, this is just such a greater, you know, extra level.
Gabrielle had to be knocked off the pedestal in Renée O'Connor's eyes, too. Like, I do feel like, I mean, there's like a whole story about this that Renée told that, like, we were talking about, Vera, about Lucy, like, giving her advice about this moment. Because it does seem like a crisis moment for Renee's performance of Gabrielle. It seems like she really, like, between this and Forgiven, she really seemed to be not, like, on board with the direction, like, the writers were taking her character. She was feeling protective, and she wasn't sure if she, like, could play this stuff. And Lucy gave her this great advice.
Which I can totally see as like a throwaway line. From
it was probably like she was like eating a sandwich. She just looked over and she was like, Renée, you're just going too far with this. Like, just let go.
Can you say what was the advice? I did not actually understand.
That was the sandwich.
I know it was the sandwich.
Yeah, so like she said, like, you know, the best moments that I've had working on this show were when I like let go of like these feelings I had about my character. Like you're
being protective.
You're being too protective of it. Try to like embrace the writing. Do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. Like, which of
Good
course
advice.
is how Lucy works all the time. She just kind of does things. Yeah, I think it's great advice. And, like, I do see, like, this moment in Renee's performance of Gabrielle as a kind of liberating one. To me, this is it is very noticeably different, I think, from everything that came before with Gabrielle. Like, I think it's older. To me, it reads a little bit older. I feel like she grew up a little bit in this episode, like, before our eyes. Like, those moments where she just, like, talks to Ares here at the end. You know, she's, like, schooling him, and, like, and it works, you know? You don't even think about it. You're like, this is, like, a person, like, of power talking.
Well, I mean, it was like the ultimate therapy sesh in this episode.
She said something about this episode, and now I don't have, like, I can't remember the exact words, but she said that, like, she didn't like this performance because she could see herself too much in it. Like, she was so used to, I guess, looking and being like, that's Gabrielle, oh, she's so cute and sweet and funny. And here she sees...
I'm a jealous bitch!
Here she sees this woman, you know? This more complicated person and recognizes herself in it. I thought that was really interesting.
Well, that's the thing, because what you recognize is every human being ever.
I really find it incredibly moving. I do feel like this is maybe the most important Gabrielle episode so far. And it's a clip show.
That's crazy, because you really had some important ones already.
I know.
But I love it.
They couldn't have, you know, this one wouldn't be important without them, but I feel like this is like the apotheosis of all of them, because they're all here in it, because it's a clip show full of them.
They just made the Rift episodes to use the clips.
It's all leading up here. Yes, you're right.
Look, it's a big deal.
All right, so let's go back to the docks where Ares is conversing with Gabrielle.
This is where Ares floats the idea that Gabrielle could stop her. He says, you could always stop her. Gabrielle's like, no, I couldn't. Xena is sure to take the fastest route. I love that line. I was like, well, she's sure to. You're right. Just sure to. And Ares implies, well, you could get there ahead of her. You know, no mortal could do it, but...
The Ares Express.
He never makes the offer. He lets her say it. She has to agree, and she even has to bring the idea up specifically.
What a weird clause. Like, it sounds like it's some kind of weird contract.
It's not a clause. It's just him. Like, if anyone asks, he'll be able to be like, it was Gabrielle's idea. She asked me.
Okay.
It's not like I, like, just did it to mess with you, Xena. Like, I just did what Gabrielle told me.
Okay, so by anyone, you means if Xena asks at one point.
It's absolutely a Dickie pass the buck move, where it's like, she's responsible for this. And I mean, you know, in a way, she is responsible. He makes sure to make her responsible, and she is willing to do that. So she asks,
Yes.
She says, send me there. I'm asking. The camera zooms in on Ares, so we know these lines are going to be important. He says, to prevent a murder.
No, she says that first.
No, he says it. I thought he says it.
He says.
He says it first?
He says to prevent a murder, and then a second suggestion, for the sake of friendship. It's a question. He's saying, which of these things is the reason you're agreeing? And Gabrielle, also another zoom in on her, so you know what she's going to say is important. And she says...
Well, she's basically like, yes.
Friendship.
That's not at all how she delivers it, but that's what it is.
That is kind of the intent,
Like-
though.
Like, I had little, like, sarcastic, like, little marks around friendship because he...
Yeah.
That's
He says
Gabrielle
friendship,
being...
and then she echoes friendship.
Right, but he, like, it sounded like the way he said it was, like, him making, you know, a sarcastic comment
he's
on...
commenting on
Yeah.
the fake reasons. He's
Okay.
like, I know you
Okay.
jealous bitch are going because you're a jealous bitch.
Okay.
Let's come up with some nice sounding reasons for
Well,
why you're doing this.
despite my confusion, this is maybe my favorite line reading from Ares
that's really
in the
funny.
whole show. I think it's amazing. I think he does an amazing job. But how he says to prevent a murder for the sake of friendship. Like, you could just see it in his face. It's just the best.
They both, I mean, let's be real here. They're both in the same boat here. He's jealous of Gabrielle. Gabrielle's jealous of Lauma. They're literally, they're like looking into
Like,
a mirror.
and-
I'm
guys-
jealous of them all. Why isn't Xena paying attention to me?
Exactly. I was about to say, like, is this not the most relatable thing? Everyone being jealous of everyone because of Xena.
yeah, it's true. It's true.
And
like-
that's how, you know, they connected in
This is
Quill.
right.
Exactly.
So I mean,
'cause
this
of
is
Xena.
this is in a way why he's helping her,
Yeah.
is because he gets her. Like, yeah, it's a moment of, in a way, very real connection between these
It's
two
crazy
characters.
how much I like Ares when he's like talking to Gabrielle in any capacity regarding Xena versus him talking to Xena.
Well, when he's talking to Xena, you know, he's always trying to pull a fast one on
Yeah,
her.
yeah.
You know, in a way, there's less truth in
Yeah.
it. This is in a way of the most honest we've seen him. He wants her to do this for a lot of reasons. When you feel on some deep level, he's like, I get you. I want you to have this.
So Gabrielle is now full-blown realization mode, but like that thing where, you know, you sort of like are free to say the feelings.
She's got like the verbal diarrhea.
Yeah.
It's just all coming out now.
Yeah.
She's like beat the crap out of Ares. Although he's like slumped in the background, like
Yeah.
out of breath, and she's just monologuing.
But see, that's why I think it's like he's the guilt. She beat on her guilt.
Yeah,
And
she
she's
did.
like, I wanted to betray her. I hated her
Ugh.
for loving someone else. That's a really important line.
I love that it's just said straight up.
Yeah.
They didn't go for a my best friend
For
was
having another best
friending
friend.
with another best friend.
She said Lama was like her sister to her.
No, I mean, it goes straight up. Yeah. This is jealousy. This is about,
Yeah,
you know,
about love.
someone you love loving someone else.
I wanted her to hurt. I wanted her to be punished. And I almost got her killed. My hatred and jealousy almost destroyed my best friend.
And then it's like do 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 do, because he's like, that's the answer. Now what is the question?
Oh, Vera, groan. Oh.
The question is, can you live with it?
What is? Can you
Yeah.
live with it? Can she? He goes to get her pensive.
He tells her to drink it. I guess you drink it instead of dumping it out.
Yeah, you drink, which is weird. You drink up all your memories
And then you
they're
forget.
gone. You pee them out.
Yes, they don't tell you that. It's in the fine print.
Oh my goodness. So they make like a list of stuff that, like, you know, she would forget everything. And he's
The
like,
good and the bad.
yeah, the good
Or
stuff.
the bad and the good.
And the bad. She is, you know, kind of sad in that she would lose like memories of her youth and her parents and her many loves.
I think she already lost the memories of her parents since we never see them and they're not
Yeah.
important.
And her, by many, she means two.
What
They're
are
coming
her loves?
soon.
Are
They'll
they
be here soon.
Perdiccas?
Yeah, and Xena.
And Xena.
Well, Xena gets a separate entry.
Well, this is what I was gonna say.
Oh, well, does
I-
she count like
I
Lila?
literally have a
Maybe.
diagram
She's got a diagram.
many
It's
loves.
very
Is
scientific.
outside the good. and
Oh,
the
okay.
She's
So who's the many
right.
loves, guys?
Yeah, youth, parents,
She
loves.
is one of her many
Puppy
loves.
loves. I don't know.
Okay,
Things
sure,
we
like
never even knew
schoolyard.
about. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then on the other side, the evil side, we have the betrayal, the killing, the death of your child. All that great stuff from season 3 we just saw. And then, you're right, Katie, outside of this dichotomy between the good stuff and the bad stuff, we have Xena.
Yeah.
Oh, again, another moment where I can't even describe how wonderful Renee
I always
is.
feel this way.
Like, when she says Xena, it's very, like, matter of fact, but also sort of almost dreamy. It's not quite patented soft
I know what
voice.
you mean.
It's just this
No, that's very
weird-
specific.
Yeah. She almost reminds me of, like, an elf in Lord of the Rings. It has this, like, spookiness to it, the line delivery. It feels like poetry. It feels like something she said a million times before, and she's just almost reciting it. Like, it's really good. She sort of has her head tilted, and it's just, she's become the freaky one. Throughout this episode, Aries was really freaking me out, and now Gabs is freaking me out. Aries says... Your favorite line, Vera?
You won't miss what you never knew. Because that's Xena's love.
Oh.
He's so wrong.
Yeah, he's obviously wrong. He's the part of Gabrielle that's just wrong.
Right.
That's what he represents.
It's like a cliffhanger. Like, will she drink it or not?
I think we all know, yeah.
Well-
I don't think this is a fault of the episode, but yeah, inevitably, she's not going to forget the first 3 seasons of Xena.
I do like that this cuts to Joxer being like, that's your whole life right there.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Which is a great line, because that's
Goodbye.
what it's,
Yeah.
you know.
That's a really
question.
good point. This episode is so well written. Like,
Right?
you're always finding, like, new little lines that
Yeah.
kind of are doing a lot of work.
Well, so he read all the scrolls, and
And by
Gabrielle
read, we mean
invented them,
all
yeah.
the scrolls.
And Gabrielle is like, take me now. Because she's so in love with him and wants to feel it.
Dubious consent. Not even dubious, straight up non-consensual, whatever this is.
Yeah, she wants to remember how much she loves him.
Just like the time right before you saved Ulysses.
Oh, man.
God, way to make this scene even worse. Mentioning Ulysses.
Yeah,
Is it-
you had
is
an
it worse
interesting...
than their centaur? Oh my god.
Oh my
Cut, cut,
Can you imagine
centaur.
if that was their sex game?
No.
The centaur sex
Lord,
game?
cut that out.
What?
No, that's standard.
Is it worse than their gladiator game?
Centurion game. Yeah, that's gross too. That is gross. So much grossness happening here. He feels bad, finally, but way too late to get any credit for, like, finally not being a creepster. Yeah, that's what she should have called him, not jerkster, creepster.
Yeah.
And he sort of says, like, it was all a lie, me, like, thinking I could give you back all your happy memories. I'm not a part of those, and I really wanted to be. And he admits he didn't rescue Ulysses. That was Xena. He didn't get Ares' godhood back. That was Xena, too. He didn't convert Hercules back from being evil. That was complicated.
Was that disappointed? Is that what that is?
Yeah, I think so.
Disappointed?
Yeah, the sovereign.
I don't know.
I thought it was interesting that all of his references, all of the things that from the show that he's told Gabrielle about, they're all about men.
Wait, it's Ulysses. What's the other one?
Ares,
Oh.
Hercules.
Well, these are just like
all his stories are about
Yeah,
men.
but these are all like really well-known like myths. You know,
Yeah.
like they're like historically like
They are,
heroic
right,
figures.
that like are good things to boast about.
Like
But
if
it
you
is-
tell anyone,
To me, this very is like the heterosexual
I mean,
read of Xena. Xena's adventure with this man. Xena's adventure with that man. Xena's adventure with that.
Yes, or it's just that he wants to be better or as good as
Yeah.
those guys.
It's
and
true.
thus makes himself
So he
the hero of the
replaces
story to
Xena
make
in the
himself
story
better.
with himself.
That's right, and he
which is
made-
a little bit gay.
whoa. Well, he like, well, I guess so. He like testosterone.
I
the
saved
dudes.
you, Ulysses.
But wait a second, he made Callisto his love kitten.
That's true. The last one is that Callisto's his love kitten, or not his love kitten. Yeah, which again, very, very heterosexual.
I think he's just trying to put himself on par.
Yeah.
With
Yeah,
everyone.
I mean, I think you're right, Katie, but like at the end of the day, the scene, this again, the representation of Joxer, where like for half of it, you're like, oh my god, this is so awful because he's like completely gaslighting her. She wants to fuck him right now, and then he just quickly becomes like the lovable, bumbler, as he calls
and
himself.
that like makes all the creepy
But
behavior
he says that line about how like, oh, I just wanted to write myself into your memories because like you don't have any of me and I love you so much. Like it just makes you go like, ugh, I have sympathy for you, but like
I have
you're
sympathy,
awful.
but that's not the way you insert yourself into someone's life. And also the whole idea that you can insert yourself into someone's life, like that's not how it works. You're not entitled to do that.
It's just crazy how easily they can like take him to the edge.
Yeah.
And then just like bring him back
Pull
with
him
like
back,
some line of
and
like,
then
oh,
make
he's
you
just a schmo.
feel
it's
bad for
crazy.
him.
It's all Ted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
so
I think
good.
a lot of it is Ted. Like you do, like he gets your sympathy even in these creepy plot lines where you're like, no, set him on fire.
No, I know. I mean, like nice guy stuff. Like I wasn't really thinking about. I wouldn't have been thinking about anything like that if I watched this when it first aired.
In the 90s. You'd probably be like, oh, he's so sweet and so pathetic.
Yeah.
But he
This is
kind of
pathetic.
he is
Yeah.
sweet and pathetic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not going to go over that line. He's not going to have sex with this person.
Yeah.
I noticed,
I'm not really defending him in this
but
episode. I
no,
usually do, but I'm just like, this is, not the best Joxer outing.
I noticed, I think it actually was earlier in the episode, like they're talking about, like he's looking for the Sins of the Past scroll, or no, the Callisto scroll he's looking for to read it to her. And he says, I know she put it somewhere. He refers to Gabrielle as she.
Yeah.
And it's your first inkling that he knows this isn't Gabrielle and that the gaslighting is complicated because, like, this isn't the person he actually wants.
Yeah, he wants the old Gabrielle back, the one that would gouge out his eyes.
Yeah.
She's very violent at him, and she will be.
She is pretty violent.
But like the eye
In a
thing.
gouging is
Wait,
a
but
little...
isn't that something she threatened Tara with?
Right, wasn't she gonna gouge out the eyeballs and then eat them?
Like, what is this new?
She just gouges like
She must
lightly.
poke him in the eyes
Yeah,
sometimes.
just
Yeah.
a light gouging.
I thought that was an aggressive term.
He says, just forget everything I told you. It's not who you are. Except for the part about dancing nude in the rain. That is you. So he goes back to the line again with
Yeah.
being creepster. One final gasp of creepster.
So, in response to that, Gabrielle attacks him.
And calls him Joxer.
Joxer,
Yeah.
and he corrects her.
Jerkster, yeah. So she's back, and Xena is just right there creeping in the bushes.
I
She's
know.
been creeping
the
in the bushes.
ultimate creepster, not Joxer. It's Xena who's set up this whole
Zenster.
situation and
okay.
just let Joxer gaslight.
Let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
she set up this situation.
Yeah,
That's intense.
she did.
intense.
That's really intense. Yeah, and she didn't know what would happen.
No.
She was leaving that decision up to Gabrielle.
How do you guys feel about that? Like, do you guys like that at the end of the day, it's like every single episode?
Solid should have done it.
No one should have done it. Gabrielle should have made this decision herself and just done it.
I mean, I think so. I mean, she did. That's what's frustrating. It's one of those things where she did. She obviously made all the decisions. Xena wasn't there. Xena was just creepily hovering.
But she was like, let's go to this temple. Meet me there in this
Right.
memory temple. Like, she could have been off with Burger King and like Gabrielle would have done this herself. Like, that's what I wanted.
I mean, I think that ultimately it was Gabrielle's decision to go in it or not.
Yeah, but she set it up like just like Ares set up, that.
I mean, it's a little manipulative to me. It should have just like why the deception? Why the like I'm here but I'm not here? I feel like it's a kind of the writer's way out, where it's like, well, we don't have Lucy Lawless in this episode. This is like a big Gabrielle episode. Where did Xena go?
But she could have
say
just come
something.
back. Like, that's the thing. She just could have like been off and come back. Like, she didn't need to set it
See,
up.
this
Like,
is
so they
why-
didn't want her to be inactive in this episode.
We get this amazing episode that is just so great about all these revelations and stuff. Meanwhile, you have Xena who knows everything because Gabrielle talks in her sleep. So the other thing that they could do is Xena could use words and have a conversation with Gabrielle, which is boring. It's boring.
Yeah,
it's not about
What's amazing
that.
is that didn't even occur to me as an option.
Didn't
That she
occur-
could have sat down
didn't
and
occur
been
to
like,
Xena.
I heard you talking in your sleep. Is this why you went to Chin?
But she wanted her to
It's
be
not-
able to
it's-
really confront it.
Yeah, and it seemed like she was very much in denial that it had happened.
But she could have come back from her like
didn't remember
security
it.
job.
Yeah, she literally did not remember it, which is pretty impressive that she just forgot. I don't
She
know.
didn't forget, she blocked it out. Because
Yeah.
I guess that was like the most horrific thing that she has done versus like anything else.
Yeah, well, everything
which is
else
why,
she could
yes.
say it was for the right
Yeah.
reasons. And, you know, the fact that then she tells Xena a version of her decision-making, which just leaves it out completely. You know, it's like she told Xena that story,
Right.
and she told herself it. She
Right.
said, this is why I did it, and she believed it herself.
So back to my complaints.
Yes.
Why couldn't Xena have just gone off, done her like whatever security job, come back, found out from like Joxer that Gabrielle just did this crazy memory ritual. She could have lost her memories of you, Xena, ha ha ha, etc. And Xena would have just been like, oh, because that time you betrayed me in Chin?
And everyone looks at her like,
Wait.
what?
And then it's like, credits!
Okay, Xena
You
does.
talk in your sleep, but I'm
Xena does say that she knew that Gabrielle needed to make this journey without her.
Right.
Yeah.
So she could have taken a security job.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a little creepy and manipulative to be like, I'm going to leave you here. You might end up with permanent amnesia, but you have to take this journey without me.
Well, it's like how she let her go off to boarding school.
Yeah. There's just something condescending about it. I'm with you, Vera. Where, like, if you took out just this idea that it was all her idea, it would work. I like the idea that Xena already knows the big revelation and has forgiven her. I love that, like, Gabrielle's about to, like, do a I'm sorry thing again. And Xena's like,
No.
you know, no.
She's like, no.
No.
Yeah.
We're not doing that. We did that already. Like, Xena is past it. This is all for Gabrielle's benefit. Yeah, I don't know. I am a little on the fence about it. I read that there actually even was an earlier version of the script where you would, like, see glimpses of Xena in
Oh, in the temple,
in
right?
the temple. And I was like, oh, I'm really
That's-
glad
yeah,
they
that's
lessened
worse.
that. Because
Oh
that
my
would
God.
really just feel like, why?
No. Although it would have been cool to hear Priestess like with Xena's memories.
Oh, I mean, okay, that's like
That-
I want a whole sequel now
Yeah.
to Forget Me Not with Xena in that temple. Yeah, that
Ooh,
would
the
be
juicy
that would
shit
be
that
great. So
Xena would
I
encounter.
don't want that priestess actress back, but I do want that scene very, very much.
Oh.
So then we end with this sweet little moment with Joxer where he's like, aren't you forgetting about me? And Xena says, no, Joxer, not even Mnemosyne could help her with that. Ba-dum-bum.
I love that moment because Lucy, like, clearly is emotional, has a tear in her eye, and is saying that ridiculous line about Joxer.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's very kind of like realistic.
Yeah, where
in
you
a
just
weird way.
you don't really know how to exit out of the emotional moment, and you just do a comedy line to break the
You
tension.
have to break it, yeah.
And,
Yeah.
like, I love that they walk away like into the campsite, and you see like Xena like packing up. She like picks up a scroll and like hands Joxer
Yeah.
the sword, and it fades out on that. This like little
Them
domestic.
picking, yeah.
Yeah, it's this sweet little thing. Because, I mean, the scene with Xena is very intense. Like, she's
Yeah.
being really intense. Her, like, voice keeps breaking in this way that really upset me. I don't know. So I'm kind of glad that it just kind of, they, like, step away from that level of intensity slowly and just let you go, like, okay.
I loved
So
it.
good. Keep the memories, because you need the bad and the good together.
It's kind of what we said about, like, the dark, upsetting episodes next to the comedies. You need the one to, like, appreciate the other.
But
Exactly.
you need comedy Joxer to appreciate dramatic
Yeah.
Gabrielle.
I mean,
I don't know, guys.
They were both here, and it made for a really good episode.
I mean, the episode was good not because of that plot.
Do you think that if Gabrielle wiped her memories, well, then would she just be that shell Gabrielle?
Well, the question
Would she
is,
then
can
just find Xena again somehow by accident and do the
Yeah.
whole thing again? That's
Yeah.
Eternal Sunshine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
So,
is
like-
Eternal Sunshine.
And like,
you know.
could you regain your memories ever,
I don't
or like
know.
do you have to build new ones?
I think you'd have to build new ones. That's the idea.
Okay, then it would be Eternal Sunshine.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're fated to be together.
I'm glad they didn't Eternal Sunshine it.
Yeah, because that movie
I don't
looks...
want to have to see the first 3 seasons of Xena again.
It's not even that. That movie looks as low budget as the first season of Xena.
What?
Yeah.
You haven't seen it in a long
house
time.
falls down.
Doesn't matter. I hate Michelle Gondry.
Oh my
You
God.
haven't
Charlie
seen it in a long
Kaufman.
time. It's very good.
It looked cheap.
No, it's good.
It was cheap.
It's good.
Indie. For
Indie, but
God's
like
sake.
bad indie. Like real bad.
It's good.
No. I mean, the movie's good, like the concept, but it looked
No, it
like
doesn't.
poop.
No,
Yes.
I literally saw it recently in the last
Yeah, but
4 or
you
5
never
years.
had a problem with it otherwise. I have a problem with every Michelle Gondry / Charlie Kaufman film. I just do not like them.
Oh my God.
Well, maybe we can take this beef off the
That's
podcast.
Yeah, let's fade out on this.
That's shocking. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I need to erase this conversation. I cannot be friends with you now.
Yeah, now you know the truth. I wanted to hurt you with that.
Oh. So
yeah.
final thoughts on Forget Me Not.
Loved it.
It was really, really good. Like, important.
So
Yeah.
important. Ramifications continue because now you really have this cool human jealousy issue
And setting up this
for
idea
Gabrielle.
that she owes
that has been
Ares
there
a
already and we've
favor.
talked about already. But yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yes.
I know we're like done with it, but does kind of seeing this episode bring into light some of the stuff Gabrielle said in One Against the Army? Because she talked about Chin.
It does seem interesting to me that when she was dying,
Yeah.
it's Chin she brings up. Like, there is still something about that that's, like, eating at her.
And she says China. That was a mistake.
Oh, yeah. Good point. She forgot.
She says it twice in the episode.
Oh, no. Those freelancers really didn't read the deck.
Oh, man. Well, I guess we liked it big time.
Mm-hmm. Good
Oh,
clip
big
show.
time.
Yeah. Good clip show.
Probably the
Jeez.
most consequential clip show ever made.
Ever made.
I wanted to bring up the hero with 1,000 faces.
Oh, yes.
Whoops.
Go for
I
it.
meant to do
Listen.
this like an hour ago.
We
The
talked
coins
for
of the
2 hours
problematic jar
already.
are
It's
covering
fine.
it.
So we've talked a little bit about the hero's journey and Xena before. I think kind of our takeaway from that earlier conversation is that the hero in the hero's journey, when you apply that model to Xena, the hero is not Xena.
Mm-hmm.
The hero is Gabrielle.
Yes.
The stages of the journey that Joseph Campbell lays out include the call to adventure, which of course we never see. That for Xena, that would be Amphipolis. We never see that aspect of her story. It's totally Gabrielle being like, "Take me with you." Gabrielle leaving home. Gabrielle kind of having her Obi-Wan figure, who in this case is Xena.
Yes.
So this episode to me seems very significant for Gabrielle's hero's journey because it's all of these thresholds that she's crossing. Like each of these rivers, there are 3 rivers she has to cross. Each one, the more she does that, the more she learns. So it's this kind of interior voyage to self-discovery, which is like legit some straight up Joseph Campbell stuff because it's always about like the self. Like that's why psychoanalysts love this book because it's very much like something you can apply to your own path and your own understanding of your story. But I really love this idea that like this episode really is like Gabrielle crossing these thresholds and like getting this rebirth at the end. She discovers this truth about herself and kind of continues on the path. The next part of the path is death and resurrection. So put a pin in it.
Oh, boy.
Okie doke.
Does that cover it for this week?
Oh, yeah. I think so.
Yeah. So you can follow us on all this stuff.
www.xenawarriorpodcast.com. One stop shop for all of the things. You can listen to episodes there. You can also subscribe on iTunes. You can leave reviews there, which we love. You can leave little stars, which we love. 5 of them. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
Also, continuing to work on great stuff for Patreon or the next, like, what?
Stretch goal. Oh, the shirts.
Oh yeah.
Merch.
Well, the next stretch goal is merch for sure. So if you would like to help us get to that goal, we're on Patreon, www.patreon.com/XenaWarriorPodcast, Twitter @XenaWarriorPod, Facebook, Tumblr, XenaWarriorPodcast.
The power.
The passion.
The podcast.